So it is official. Adora is canon. And I could not be happier. Hi guys, my name is Maria Park and this is Approach to Nerd. And in this episode, we are discussing everything I loved about season 5 of She-Ra. So we're just gonna jump right in because there was a lot of stuff that happened in this season. I wanna talk about the characters, I wanna talk about the artwork being amazing, and I wanna talk about, of course, our favorite couples that got together in this series finale, and hopefully they will continue it into season 6, or a mini series, or a comic book, or something. Come on, even Smallville got a comic. Now, number one thing that I loved about this season was that Adora and Catra are canon. I have not been this happy since, of course, Korosami, and honestly, even Haruka and Michiru in the updated version of Sailor Moon, which I already knew they were a couple, but it's good to see them keep that way with Viz, now that we don't have Clover, Way, because honestly, it felt like the message I would get from the old American version of the Sailor Moon cartoon was a little disturbing because they made the two girls into cousins. They named them Amarià and Michelle, and they kept all of the original dialogue from the Japanese cartoon. So basically, I interpreted this as it was better to be incestual cousins than it was to be queer. Anyway, since season 1, I have always felt there was a very romantic connection between Catra and Adora, especially on Catra's side. She was too upset that Adora left her. It was almost like Adora did not abandon the Horde. She basically abandoned Catra. And that is why Catra tried to kill her so many times. It was basically, in my mind, crimes of passion. It was not, I just want to prove myself. I'm tired of living in your shadow. I was abused and you really weren't. It wasn't the whole thing we saw with Gamora, and her sister, Nebula. It was basically you left me, my heart is broken, and I hate you, so now you must die type scenario. So them getting together was awesome to me. I love the fact that not only did these two characters grow, it's crazy how much they actually grew this season. That we actually got to see some of the stuff that was more dealing on the mental illness side. For both of them. Like, for instance, we know Catra was abused. We know that she has PTSD. We know that she has problems trusting people. And quite frankly, she hates everything about herself. And she doesn't think that she's worth anything. We know this. But Adora is kind of the same in a way. She was from the Horde. She doesn't think she's worthy of being She-Ra. She's always overdoing things to prove that she cares, that she can sacrifice, that she's strong, that she can protect everyone. She will give her life to save other people, but she doesn't know how to let others sacrifice for her. And it's interesting because, when she actually is able to understand that in this season, that is how she basically gets her powers back, how she's able to become She-Ra again. Because remember, in season 4, she broke her sword and she couldn't summon the She-Ra powers anymore. But it was her overcoming that self-bias that allowed her to become She-Ra, and I thought that was very, very cool. I also love the fact that Catra's redemption basically was 100% motivated by Adora. So her hate was motivated by Adora, like the rage she felt, the loneliness, the abandonment, and then of course, her redemption is also centered around Adora. So it makes sense that she has loved her the entire time. And honestly, from what we've seen and what we know now in the season series finale, really, Adora has felt the same way. They just both channeled that differently. Catra went with rage and Adora went with self-sacrifice, but they initially are still dealing with the same issues. So I thought that was really, really cool. And I love that Catra's redemption arc is not something that's just done in like one episode, because it would have been very hard to swallow. Like, she did a lot of nasty stuff in the first 4 seasons. So, but her saving Glimmer and basically willing to die, taking on the Horde Prime for Adora, by the way, really spoke volumes. And then her learning to trust people, apologizing to people, bonding with them, and becoming part of the rebellion team that was really, it just was amazing to see. And I love that her cutting her hair was like signifying change. Thought that was pretty cool. But there's so much character development and growth. We've seen this with some of the minor characters in the series. I honestly think that Glimmer and Bo also evolved a lot. And I know that them having their love confession was like so left field for some people, but quite frankly, I saw it in the first season, and I'm queer, so what does that say? I kind of knew that they were going this direction with these two characters. It's fairly obvious. So it was no real shock to me, but I thought it was really interesting how they did it. And I love the fact that they had to have a redemption arc for Glimmer with Bo in their friendship first before they could move on to romantic. So I love how they pulled that off in season 5. Plot-wise, I love the fact also that Adora had to deal with a lot of the, ramifications of being She-Ra, because she always assumed that She-Ra was the savior or the chosen one. And she's actually the Raven of Teen Titans in this. She actually holds the key to the Heart of Etheria weapon, which is basically endgame that the first one set up to take out anyone who they deem to be their enemy. It just proves more and more that the first ones were flippin' nasty. It's pretty, I really feel like this show mimics our world. It's like if you really know the truth about the original Thanksgiving, then you know that they weren't just sitting around the table. The Pilgrims weren't that nice to the natives. So, I kind of feel like that's a representation of that. So yeah, a lot of politics, especially when you talk about in terms of the environment, that's a big thing, fighting the man. There's so much stuff that's political. But what I do love about She-Ra, and what I've always loved about this show, is that things like, mental illness, disability, homophobia, that stuff it's not something that's focused on or is even a thing in this world. It's the perfect utopia of acceptance. Like, there are gay couples, there are heterosexual couples, there are non-binary people. I think, Double Trouble, I think, is actually non-binary, because I remember them saying they or them. There's so many tropes in this series, and it doesn't affect the story, and it's not a big deal, and it shows you that you can have diversity in the world, and it doesn't make anything hard for anyone else. You live your life, you learn to love, love is love, you are who you are, you accept who you are, and then you move on. It's a really, really good series, and it's sad that it takes a cartoon, to show us what we should be doing in real life. It's probably why I got into She-Ra to begin with. But, so back to the story. So Adora, through a lot of this season, is trying to find a way to basically not kill or destroy everyone, because she's the only one that can activate or use this weapon. We did learn that from Mara as well. I think that was season 2 or 3, that, the previous She-Ra, that was, endgame. So Adora works really hard to not, be the destructor, even willing to sacrifice her own life. And again, I love that Catra, and Catra's love is what basically saves Adora, and then by a side effect, everyone else. So yeah. Very, very cute. I really, really loved how this season played out. There were so many things that I liked too about this season. Like, we got to see Bo's dads again, who are now helping the rebellion, which is very cool. Entrapta, which is, we got to see her. She had a little bit of an arc too. Like, in one of the episodes, she talks about how she's like the world's biggest introvert. She doesn't know how to socialize with people. She doesn't know how to show emotion. She doesn't know how to show people she cares. She reminds me a lot of my brother, who is he's high functioning autistic, and I kind of feel like they're very similar in a way, because my brother can tell me he loves me, but he doesn't know how to show it. But if there's something like wrong with one of my electronics, like if my blender broke down, he would be the one that rushes to go fix it, because he knows it would make me happy and he doesn't want me to be sad, even though he probably can't put it back together. That's pretty much how she is. Another good example or comparison would probably, if you watch the show Atypical, she is basically the female version of Sam. And I think her, in general, she represents disability in this series. So I really like that they played on that. But she probably is high functioning or on the spectrum of autistic, or, some form of autism, which is pretty cool. And I love that she basically feels like her technology is how she helps people and shows people that she cares. So in that regard, yeah, I'm very I really, really like that aspect of the show. But yeah, season 5 had so much. I mean, there was so much. Like Scorpia finally got to be in the limelight. I've loved this character since the first season. She's so sweet and understanding. She's like so maternal, but she has nobody to do it for. So it was like, you know, I was so happy she met Perfuma and she was like, hey, you go do what you want. You have your life. You show people who you are. You know, don't live for people. Be who you want to be. And I thought that was a very cool thing. I really, really, really like that. And I love that she got to stand out more. We got to see more of Scorpia, because honestly, how Catra was treating her was bad. I mean, Catra's on a lot of stuff, but for me, how she treated Scorpia was probably up there with some of the worst stuff that she did in the series, because Scorpia was so, you know, pro her relationship and friendship with Catra, and she really wanted nothing more than to be friends with her, because I guess she just seemed like such a lonely person, but was so positive for a villain, you know, and Catra just kind of pushed her away. And I always felt like that was just really sad. So I don't know. But yeah, I'm glad we got to see her more. I thought that was really cool. I also love that Shadow Weaver died. I know that sounds flippin' horrible. Come at me. I'm sorry. Shadow Weaver was a biatch. How she treated Catra once Catra was redeemed and she's like trying to assimilate into the group and be part of the group. And she's just all putting like these little negative comments out there, like trying to basically spear it on, because, you know, of course, Catra was always in Adora's shadow in the Horde, and she always felt like she was never good enough. And she still has problems with that confidence. So here you got Shadow Weaver just talking crap all the time. And I'm like, really? And I understand. People are going to say, but she was the parental unit, blah, blah, blah. I don't care. That was a parent that was playing favorites, and it was putting Catra back in the same, you know, headspace that started all this crap to begin with. And instead of being encouraging, she was just really horrible. So when she died, I actually was not unhappy about it. Actually, I might have applauded a little bit, but that's a whole other thing. But yeah, I also loved some of the side characters. Of course, all the characters in Princesses have all at one point had some story development, even some of the ones that were kind of obscure, like my favorite married women, Natasha and Spinnerella. I love them. And I love that we always got to see them at least once or twice in the season. And I love the comments that they have for each other. They're just really funny. Again, I do love Bo. I love Bo's dads. I love they helped in the rebellion. I think that was really, really cool. I love the Star siblings. I thought they were cool. If they got to do like a spin-off or like a comic series, because the comic series are normally kind of popular, I would love to see like just a little arc with them, because they were really cool. Hordak and Entrapta I thought were really cute. I mean, you gotta feel bad for him in a way. Yeah, he's done some nasty stuff too, but I mean, really, he's nothing. He's like, if this was the Borg Queen basically was just ordering Hordak to go and do all this crap. And then once there was nothing left for Hordak to do, he was disposable. But he actually loved Entrapta, and he was motivated to fight back, you know, the Horde and the Horde Prime because of his love for Entrapta, which is, again, what inspired Catra. Catra turned on the Horde Prime for Adora, and he did for Entrapta. And I just love that. I love that they focus so much on love. Because honestly, guys, love is all that matters, especially in this universe. And love turned out to be the source of She-Ra's powers anyway. So they just learned that in episode 1. They could have saved themselves a whole lot of trouble. But yeah. I really, really love this season. I love the artwork. The artwork is gorgeous. It's been gorgeous from episode 1. I love that it's realistic artwork too, not just pretty colors, but not every character is a stick figure. Not every character is perfect. You have people of different shapes and sizes, people that have injuries, people that have, you know, scars. I love that. I love that it's made to be so realistic. So that is another thing that I loved about this series. I like the music too. The music was pretty on point in She-Ra. There's just so much about this series finale for me that was epic. And honestly, I'm really happy that Netflix took a chance and did this, and that Netflix, you know, pretty much released a cartoon like this. And I'm hoping that this opens the door for more shows that are like this, because I know a lot of people feel like, oh, there's so many, gay couples in this series and blah, blah, blah. And as a queer person, I don't really like hearing that, because I always feel, especially since I'm 43, that we never really got representation, like not the kind of representation that we needed. And then when we did, horrible things would happen, like Clexa in the 100. Yeah, that was bad. So it's good to see that there are actually canon relationships and couples that are made to be normal. It's not this, eccentric thing. Oh my God, two girls that are in love with each other. Oh my God, two guys that are in love with each other. It's actually just accepted and not blinked an eye at. It's just the normal. So I really, really love that. So I'm really, really hoping that we get more like this, because this was definitely a show that stands out in my mind, and a show that I think is very important for younger people, to watch. And hopefully someday that will be our reality, because you never know. Anything can happen. But that is my opinion, guys, on She-Ra Season 5. I left a little bit out because I didn't want to spoil all of it, just in case, you want to go back and watch, or you haven't watched it, even though I did kind of spoil a little bit. But check it out if you have Netflix. Leave a comment below if you love the series. If you did not love it, please leave a comment and let me know why. And if you would like to sign up for Jury Duty, hit the subscribe button. If you'd like to know who's next in the nerd bell, hit the notification bell. Until next time, I can't wait for you to approach the nerd. Bye, guys.
Thank you for watching my video. I really appreciate it, but hey, the party doesn't have to stop now. Click on one of these videos and keep it going.